What's up guys, welcome back to Smite Guides. Last time we covered Cuchulainn, now it's time for Ratatoskr. Be sure to leave a comment on who you want to see next in the series, but let's dive right into it. So as always with my god guides, we're going to quickly go over the content so you can skip to a certain section if you want to. First up, we'll cover the basic playstyle of Rat and how he plays. Then his abilities in depth and how to use them effectively. After that, items and builds, where I'll discuss my favourite items for Rat and then a full build example. And finally, we'll cover some general tips to up your game on Ratatoskr. Alright, so let's kick it off with Rat's basic playstyle. So Rat is best played from the jungle as a high pressure early game assassin, who'll be looking to abuse his strong early game to get him and his team ahead, using his high damage and mobility early on, then transition into a slightly more tanky or frontline role for the team, causing a lot of disruption in later game teamfights. Due to the way his kit is designed, he's somewhat viable in solo lane, and I will touch on that a little bit throughout the guide, but for the most part he's best used as a jungler. On to Ratatoskr's abilities and leveling. So starting off with Rat's passive, this one is very simple but also very powerful. Put simply, Rat can't buy boots as most of the gods would want to do early on. Instead, his boots are replaced by the Aercon of Yggdrasil. You start with rank 1 of this Aercon for free at the start of the game, which gives 8% movement speed for no cost, which is a nice boost to early game Rat. He can often outspeed a lot of people early on because people usually don't rush boots and he gets a free 8% movement speed. He upgrades very similarly to boots, costing 1600 to fully upgrade, same price as Warrior Tabe, but gives 50 power and 20% movement speed as well as a passive that heals him for a small amount every time he hits an ability. So right off the bat this is the same price as boots but gives 10 more power and 4% additional movement speed compared to Warrior Tabe plus the passive. So naturally, you want to get this done very early on to abuse the ridiculous stats it gives compared to other boots assassins will be buying. And finally, this Aercon can be upgraded from anywhere on the map, you don't have to recall to base to buy it. This adds even more early game power since you just don't even have to waste time recalling to buy it as other people would do with their boots. This plus the heavy sustain makes the Aercon a powerful pick for solo lane Ratatoskr as well. Moving on to Rat's 1, Dart. Ratatoskr dashes forward a decent distance, damaging and passing through all minions and stopping at the first god hit, dealing 70 up to 210 base and 70% scaling in damage, and applying a 20 up to 40% slow for 3 seconds on hit. This ability has a 14 second cooldown at all ranks and can be reduced by 1 second for each god he hits with his 2 and his 3. So this is a really simple dash. The damage is fairly weak, but that is sort of offset by the fact that it can have a very low cooldown when used right and reduced by his 2 and 3. Also, the slow lasts 3 seconds regardless of the rank of the ability, which is super strong early game for securing kills. And once you do level the ability up, the 40% slow is really powerful. Ratatoskr's second ability, Flurry, allows him to spin around hitting all enemies in the area up to 4 times over the duration, doing 25 up to 85 base and 25% scaling in damage per hit, meaning up to 340 base and 100% scaling if all ticks are hit. It also reduces enemy physical protections by 2 up to 6 per hit based on the rank of the ability, so up to 24 on maximum rank. This ability also has a 14 second cooldown. So this is Rat's highest damage basic ability and also provides a nice bit of protection shred which really helps early on before it can get any penetration done. It's pretty easy to land all 4 ticks of this on an enemy unless they dash away or something, so it can definitely chunk very hard early on and even later into the game as well. It is worth noting that you can't do anything while casting this ability though, you can't even use relics or anything or cast other abilities, so be aware of that. On to Rat's third ability, Aercon Blast. Rat shoots 3 Aercons in a tight cone in front of him. Each Aercon does 40 up to 100 base and 30% scaling in damage, giving this ability a max damage of 300 base and 90% scaling. If an enemy is hit by all 3 Aercons from this ability, they will be stunned for 1 second. This ability has a cooldown of 15 seconds. So this is another high damage burst ability for Rat. 300 base and 90% scaling is nothing to laugh at, plus the stun is a great way to lock people down into the full damage of your 2 as well, or just lock people down that are trying to run away from you. It is worth noting that you have to be pretty damn close to the target to actually hit 3 Aercons, like pretty much in melee range. You can also use it further out, but of course you'll hit less of the Aercons, do less damage and probably not get the stun. It is a good way to secure a low health enemy though. If they're on like less than 100 health you can throw out the Aercons and often tag the kill. You can just walk up to someone and try to land the stun, but you're mostly better either using Dart or your ultimate or Blink to engage and land the stun. Speaking of, Ratatoskr's ultimate Through the Cosmos allows Rat to leap into the sky onto the branches of the World Tree. He can jump from branch to branch up to 2 times before leaping down, doing damage and knocking up all enemies in a large area as he lands. The ability can also be cancelled early at any time to activate the knockup and will also time out after a while if he stays up there too long. This ability's cooldown scales down from 110 seconds to 90 seconds as you rank it up. So this is definitely the crux of Rat's kit. It gives him an insanely powerful rotation and gank tool, allowing him to cross almost half the jungle to gank a lane or make a rotation. The damage is decent, but nothing insane for an ultimate. The base damage is quite high at 440, but the scaling is very low for an assassin at only 70%. This can also be used as an escape or to buy some time, but be careful when doing it like that because it does have a long channel time where you can be hit and killed, though you are CC immune while you're channeling this. And you also have plenty of time up there to bait and potentially go back into a fight with a knock-up if your team are showing up. Alright, so now we know his abilities, let's quickly cover a leveling order for Rat before we move on to the build section. So level 1 you want Aercon Blast, since it does the most damage at rank 1 out of any of your basic abilities, so it gives you the fastest clear. Level 2 you can take either Flurry for better overall damage and clear, or you can take Dart if you want to look for an early aggressive kill with the dash and slow. Level 3 take what you skipped at level 2, so either Dart or Flurry. Level 4 take a second rank in Flurry, and level 5 take Through the Cosmos. From there you want to prioritise leveling Flurry, then Aercon Blast, then Through the Cosmos, then Dart. You can also skip the ult entirely and level Dart third, but personally I like the reduced cooldown and more damage on the ultimate more than I like leveling Dart. Alright, so with that done, let's cover Rat's item choices and builds. So for starting builds, Rat can go a couple of different ways for a jungle start. Obviously, regardless of the start you choose, you need Assassin's Blessing for jungle. Then there's two main options. You can either upgrade your Aercon to tier 2 to rush it early on, since you just need 900 gold afterwards to get full Aercon without even needing to recall to base. This is risky but can have a huge payoff if you abuse the Aercon damage early on. A lot of people won't expect you to have 50 power and 20% movement speed at like 4 minutes into the game, so it can be very powerful. The other option is to grab a tier 1 item in place of the Aercon upgrade. This could be mace, katana, shield, whatever you need really if you want to rush something early on. So if you want to rush Jotun's Wrath early on, get mace for example. Then any remaining gold you have should go on potions for sustain. So Rat is a little weird when compared to other assassins when it comes to builds. For the early portion of the game, he'll build like a typical assassin, power, CDR, penetration, the usual stuff, but then he'll transition into a bit more of a tanky build later on. This is mostly due to the fact that his scalings aren't amazing for late game, but his base damages are very strong, so he just needs penetration and defense to be very effective later on, kinda similar to a warrior. So of course your first item is Aercon. After that you usually want a bit of early game damage. Options here would include Jotun's Wrath, the Crusher, Brawler's Beatstick versus a healer, or Heartseeker. There are other choices, but these are the most common ones for second item damage. From there you can go a bunch of different ways, so here are some items that I think are worth building. The 4 from before still apply if you haven't already built them yet. Anchile has great stats and a useful passive against certain mages. Void Shield is amazing for Rat, giving 20 pen, some power and some defense, all stats Rat uses very well. And that 20 pen also applies to your other teammates, which is great. Runic Shield can also work in place of Anchile against very heavy magical comps if you're going to get a lot of power reduction with it. Masamune is great for some defenses along with other useful stats like move speed and power. Spirit Robe and Mantle of Discord are really great for pure defense choices. I'd recommend Discord over Spirit Robe, but both are viable and you can even pick up both in a single game if you want to. Even Urchin has potential, but I personally prefer these two, but if you are snowballing really hard and you're getting a lot of kills or assists, you can pick up Urchin. Magi's Blessing is great if you're being focused by hard CC. A Titan's Bane is a nice late game item if you're having problems with people building a lot of defense against you. Shifter's Shield is nice for Rat since he can go aggressive with the 70 power, but once he gets low he can be more tanky. And finally, Hydra's isn't terrible early on, but as I've mentioned, it's often outshined by other early game items like Heartseeker, Jotun's, or the Crusher. So now that's done, let's move on to a full build example for those just looking for a quick and easy build to try Rat out with. Start with Aercon of Swiftness, Assassin's Blessing, 1 health and 1 multi-potion, with beads as your relic. Finish your Aercon, then go into the Crusher, Void Shield, Anchile, Mantle of Discord, then Titan's Bane, with your second relic being Blink. As always, this is just a guideline build, feel free to sub in any of the items I've listed above into this build to help make it work best for you. And for those of you who just want a quick solo lane build, since I do think he's somewhat viable there as well, but didn't want to spend ages covering an entirely separate set of items for him, you want to start with Aercon of Swiftness, Health Chalice and Teleport. Finish your Aercon, then grab Breastplate of Valor against a physical laner or Anchile against a magical laner. Then the other one you didn't get in second slot, grab in third. Then grab Void Shield, Spirit Robe, Mantle of Discord. And finally, let's cover some quick tips and tricks for Ratatoskr. So with Rat, you really want to be squeezing out as much damage as possible from all your abilities. Since he's not a god you can easily 100 to 0 people with unless you're extremely fed, you need to maximise your damage potential with things like auto attack cancelling and refreshing your dash cooldown, things like that. So you often might want to engage with the dash to trigger the reduced cooldown when you use your 2 and 3 afterwards. You can also often bait people's abilities really well in fights. For example, if you're looking to ult someone but they've spotted you on the branches, try and jump to another branch but not actually land. Enemies will sometimes jump or dash to try and avoid it, and then you can follow up by jumping down for a free knockup. You can do the same with your dash. Rather than using it to engage, you could engage by other means like your ult or blink, and then just follow their dash with yours once they use it for a free kill. Well, that's about it for today's guide. Sorry that this one was a little shorter than ones I've done in the past. Rat is a pretty straightforward god and only really is viable in jungle, so there's a bit less to explain about him. But hopefully this was useful to you, and if it was, then be sure to drop a like to let me know you want to see more of these god guides. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out, you nerds.